Renee, welcome back to the Retail Whore podcast.
Hello, hello, hello. I am so excited.
Okay, lady, I just told you off camera, I have been loving so much how you are really leaning into what seems obviously your gift of human design and gene key. And now you're working with your clients and having them lean into the human design and how they're personalized. Because I think I told you a while ago, like I got my reading done a long time ago and I kind of sat with it. I didn't, really go through it. And you started doing this whole series on the gene keys. And it was right before I left for Vegas. And I bought the book and I left the book at home because I knew I wouldn't be able to do it when I was in Vegas working. So I got back last Friday and I've been like highlighting so much of it. So update everybody about what you're doing now and how you are utilizing this amazing astrological what you're gonna have to explain all that too.
Dude, honestly, I love that you're like, this is happening. This is this, because that's what it is. It sends you down this chaos rabbit hole where you question everything and you're like, what is this reality? Who am I? Why have I not known this my whole life? Like, you feel gypped almost because you're like, what the fuck? I should have used this years ago.
Right.
Yeah, that's how it has been with all of my things. So what I started out with was content, right? That's what I was like my jam, loved it, lived it, did it. But every time I would help my clients, they wouldn't be the same person in their content as they were, like, let's say on the phone. And I'm like, well, why are you not showing this person? I'd rather buy from this person than your freaking professional ass version of you. You're boring. And so they didn't believe that they could do it. They would say like, oh, well, I have to be professional, or I have to be the authority, or a lot of have to, should, expectation, all of that stuff. Right. And I'm like, okay, so obviously there's a bigger problem here. And I came across the gene keys in human design when my body decided to quit on me because I was just go, 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 go. Turns out I'm a projector, not supposed to go, 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 go. And so that's what led me down that rabbit hole, was because I thought I was lazy, being married to like a manny-gen, where I was like, well, why can't I just do everything like they do?
Yeah.
And I started beating myself up and my body stopped. It was like, you're not fucking listening. We quit. And
When
that's what led me to it.
when was that?
Oh, a couple years now. It was like right before I started the podcast. So I would say like 2 or 3 years ago. And I've been deep diving ever since because I found it. You know how like when you're ready to hear it, shit finds you. That's
Yeah.
kind of what happened. I started noticing something about it, and because I never did like enneagrams or like personality tests. I was like, fuck that, because I'm an overachiever. I lie on all the tests because I'm like, yep, I'm productive. Yep, I'm an overachiever. Like, I wanted my answers.
Not lie on the personality test.
I
That is
totally lie. Like,
so amazing. Oh my God, I love you.
they're like, are you a people pleaser? I'm like, yes. No, wait, is that going to be a doubt score? No, I'm not a people pleaser. Like, I'm one of those. So personality tests like never worked for me because I'd be like, depending on what mood I'm in today. And so when I found human design and I finally saw it, it was like this story of me so perfectly summed up that I was like, holy fuck, everything that I have been deep down wanting to do, that have been told my whole life I'm wrong, is actually my fucking gift. What is this life? And I just kept going and researching and diving and doing this. And I started using it in my business, of course, because I was like, this is fucking gold. Like, why is nobody talking about how you can make this like help you in your business, which is the most highly volatile industry you could be in, is your own business. And I was like, how is nobody talking about this? And I started applying the things I was learning. And all of a sudden, shit started working. Like, shit started working. It was easier. I was more confident. I finally just said, fuck everybody, and did what I wanted to do. And I made the most money. I was the most happiest. My content got better. Opportunities started coming. Like, what the shit? I was
I
like,
mean, you
everybody
can
needs
see
this.
it honestly, like, because I've
Yeah.
known you for it's going on 2 years. I met you at
Yeah. You've seen me for a while.
and it's like it is like honestly it's so cool to watch you basically come into your own space and have that authority and stand there and talk about like your confidence, your presence, your all of it. It's like it is so crazy to watch from the outside and it's so cool. And that's why I was like, okay, it's time we have you back on and we need to talk about this again because now really what you're doing and how you're working with people, I feel like no one there's a lot of people who do human design a lot, but not applying it towards business. And I
No, and
think
it's an energetic standpoint. I completely shut my whole business. I like burned everything to the ground because I was doing it and I was like, okay, this is working, right? It gives you permission to be who you really want to be. Like it gave me permission to tell everybody to fuck off. That's pretty much what it does. Like in the most realist sense of the word, it tells you exactly who you are, your truth without other people's baggage, what other people's opinions, thoughts of you, or what they want you to be. It's this deep down, calls you on your shit. Oh my gosh, this is who I am. And so when you finally start to embody it, it's not even like read it, it's embody. All of a sudden, like I said, people can feel it. It was like the floodgates opened and they're like, where have you been? And it was like, my light turned on. You know what I mean? Because so many of us have it like dimmed to like level 0 or level 1.5. And I turned that fucker up to 12 and I was like, it's go time. Like, I'm not doing this anymore. And that's what I did.
So you tell everyone, so there, for the people that don't know, I've talked about that I'm like heavily leaning into human design. I'm a manifesting generator. And for those who have worked with me and know me, my nickname is Controlla or the Whip. And it's, I guess it's a good thing. I guess, I don't know. It is definitely, I take my job serious and my clients' stores and their business very seriously. And it's, Jason from Rock Paradise, the crystal store you still need to go to.
Yes.
Is the one who calls me the Whip. He's like, all right, Whip. Like, and it's like, you can take it badly, but it's truly what my personality and what my human design is supposed to do. And so tell everyone a little bit about, explain human design in the most understandable for those who aren't woo woo, and so they understand, because the shit is real.
Well, I've never been an astrology person, so it combines astrology. So pretty much with human design, all you have to do is get your birth date and your birth time and your birth location. That's what sold me on the first time, because like I said, I'm a cheater. So when I was like, okay, I can't cheat on this one, you just give your birth date, birth time. That's when you know it's not kind of bullshit, right? Because you're like, there's no way that it's this. It's crazy that you would take this little bit of a information of time and then it spits out the most perfect blueprint for you of like how you're meant to actually operate in the world. Because get this, we are meant to be unique, that we're just brainwashed to tell us that we're not, right? We spend all of our lives in high school, middle school, whatever, like coming out a rinse and repeat person. And so when you finally see it in this little chart that's like, oh, you're this, and this is how you're supposed to be. And it feels easy. So that's what it is. It's just combining astrology. It goes, and then what I do is the gene keys. That's going into your DNA. That's quantum physics. That's all of that stuff. So there's a different like aspect to it. So human design is how you are energetically moving throughout the world. It is your profile lines, how you interact with the world around you, how you create opportunities, what your authority is, how you make decisions. It's all these cool things. And then what I was drawn to that to a certain level, but the gene keys is where the fucking meat and potatoes is. Oh my gosh.
I mean, okay, for everyone who's watching on YouTube, this is the book. It is not, and it's, when I first did it, I did the typical Michelle, like, just cut to the chase. Like, I didn't bother reading the first part of it where they do talk about that this is your DNA and this isn't your gene. And a lot of what you believe is what has been planted in you, what you're saying. Yep. And it is also this is where it's going to get really woo-woo, where you are taking on personalities and bullshit that has happened within the collective, meaning.
Yes. It's a collective, it's humanity. It's a society frequency, a society belief system, we'll say that, of stress, fear, limiting beliefs, programming to, you have to go to school, you have to get married, you have to be this. And if you go right when everybody else goes left, you're fucking weird. Right. Yeah, and that's been bred into us for thousands and thousands of generations, years, whatever you want to call it. And when you finally read it and you step into who you are, all of a sudden, it's like this wake up call and you're like, oh my gosh, you start to question everything because you're like, well, why do I believe that? Because haven't you noticed everybody has the same freaking belief? Like if you're not married by 30 or 40, or you don't go to college and you don't do this, then you're not going to be successful, right? It's like rinse and repeat. Even though I was never going to be that person. I got kicked out of every school I was in.
Girl, like, I did not graduate high school. Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
I literally,
you're a failure then, right?
Left. And it's funny. Yeah. They would like, I mean, I've said this in the podcast before. this podcast is where I truly believe where I'm supposed to be. Like, this is what lights me up. And that's part of it. But part of it is also, it's like every single report card I've gone home with since I was in 3rd grade said she would do so much better if she applied herself and stopped talking so much. And I'm like, fuck you. Other people like that. But it is truly like, I feel like I'm supposed to be where I'm supposed to be. But yes, when I decided I went to Japan, I went to model. I left when I was a junior in high school. And believe me, like you get back after living in a different country by yourself. My parents weren't with me. We had an interpreter. And you come back and I was like, yeah, I'm not going back to high school. I've been living in Japan, making my own money. And I never went back. But some people, yes, my parents, my mom, obviously, like, I wish she'd go back to school. But I knew in my heart of hearts that, truly, it's like, I believe if you're going to be a doctor, or you're going to be a lawyer, you're going to be something like, really, you need that education. Like, you need that for what I do. It's creative. It's also subjective, but it's creative. And I think that I truly don't think I needed to be in school, but it's like, I knew at that point, like school has never been I've not done well in school ever, except for the arts. That's the only thing I did well in. Everything else, for the most part, I failed or just barely got by.
Exactly. But in society standards, it's a failure. Or if you don't have the safe corporate job, that's bullshit anyway. It's not safe. Then you're, weird or whatever it is. And so and that's another reason why I got into this, is because so many of the people that are in business, we don't believe in ourselves. And business is hard on its own. But when you don't believe in yourself, it makes it so unnecessarily harder. But this is where it gets interesting, is because people beat themselves up because they don't believe in themselves. But I go, think about your parents. What did you have to see? Did they go after their dreams? Did they encourage you to go after yours? Were they different, or did they fall in line? Did they do the things that they were doing? I know nobody in my family went after their dreams. So why am I holding this torch with all this pressure to go do it on my own and wondering why it's so hard? It's not hard because you suck. It's hard because we're trying to change a program that has been embedded for thousands of years, hundreds of years for our own family line.
I think some of it's cultural too, because I don't know if you follow the Kale Junkie. Like, she's this amazing Armenian. She's a food person, and she's insane. Like, some of the best food you've ever had. She's Armenian, and Armenians are very, very much about, both how you look physically as well as what your job is. And she went to school. She was a lawyer. She hated it. She left that to start doing this, and she blossomed. And she said it was just, that was the expectation. And I left because I was miserable. I hated it. And I think a lot of people go through life and do the job they think they're supposed to because, I've got a family to support. It is scary as fuck to go out on your own. I remember when I quit Anthro, I had a 401k, I had health insurance, I had a great pay, blah, blah, blah. And I literally was like, I'm quitting. And I think my then husband was like, what? Why? Like, I can't, why would you do that? My mom, everyone, why would you do this? Why would you do this? And it was scary, but it was like, I'm not meant to be in corporate. Like, I am not a corporate person at all. Like, I can't seem to follow the rules. I can't seem to put everything in a nice box and with a nice tie, the way it's like, it's just not. So I knew that, but I didn't know why.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. But if you step out of it, everybody starts to get nervous because you're not doing what everybody's told. That's the funny part. It's like, we're all told this. So when you see the Gene Keys, you start to see yourself on such a beautifully worded area. And it's almost like this permission slip / a little bit of a map that says, you know what, if you really trust yourself, here's all the tools you need. It's just your job is to remember this and to shift and to chip away all of the things that aren't you and get back to you. And that's the whole point of being a freaking human anyways.
Well, it's the shadow side, because the shadow side, your shitty side, that's like, oh yeah, controller, like, oh yeah.
But I'm going to challenge you on that, because it's not necessarily, so anything in the Gene Keys, anything in human design, nothing is really bad. They're all markers.
Yeah.
That's what I like to call them, right? So instead of being like, oh, my shadow, it's like, oh, I'm that shitty person. It's not. That's what you're supposed to transcend. That's actually your greatest gift. So that's what because you have a relationship with that, you are going to be, when you learn how to navigate it and utilize it as that spin, like you said, at the whip, like if you start to use that as your superpower, now you can help other people that have that same thing, right? And you can teach them in a real deep relationship level because you're like, I've been there. So instead of thinking of like, oh, it's bad, it's this thing that's always going to come. And it's just your way of connecting with other people's, because if you don't have the bad, then you don't have the good.
100%.
Right. So it's that reframe of like, nothing is bad. Even like the not self or the self, we hear a lot of that in the human design world, which is like your guidance system, which is like, if you're in the not self theme, which if you're a projector, it's bitterness. If you're a manifesting generator, it's frustration, it's anger, all of these things. They have little, little markers. And that's when you know you've gotten away from your higher self. That's when you know you're doing things out of alignment with who you are. So they're not bad. It's a check mark that says like, oh, we did something here. So anytime I'm bitter, let's just say as a projector, anytime I'm bitter, that's when I know I either did something for the wrong reasons, took on too much, and I'm letting my anxiety take over, or I made a decision from my mind and not my authority, right? And then the high self, which is like the self theme, is success. So whatever that means to me is how I know I'm on my path. So even if my mind wants to say like, Renee, you're not fucking working hard enough, but I feel like I'm successful today, then that's a win.
Yeah. It's the checkpoint of, like
yes.
trusting my gut because over the last few years, I've walked away from some clients. Part of them is because truly, like, I just wasn't a good fit, but I also was not valued. Like, and there was a couple turning points and I walked away, and of course, like, I was the asshole for it, which is fine. I'll take the hit for that. But I realized the reason why is because I didn't value myself, but also because the person didn't value me. And it was like it was that feeling in your gut where you're going to work and you've got a stomach ache, and it's like, that's what I'm leaning into and listening to now. So some jobs that don't feel right, that kind of are like not sitting right, or now I'm starting to lean into and listen to that, because the jobs that, like I just got back from Vegas, and it's like, my solo, by the time this comes out, it's gonna be later, but my solo for tomorrow is all about my show setup and show recap and whatnot. And part of the beautiful thing of this last show is that I didn't have any of the show, like there was one vendor that wanted to micromanage it, but every other vendor was like, just do your magic, and to not be boxed in and not have to be like, oh, they don't want this, and trusting that I have their best interest and their space looking the best, their product selling, their new product being showcased, like trusting me and just giving that. It was probably the best show setup I've ever had. And it, like, I could have worked in part of human design for manifesting generator. It's like, lean into what lights you up. And if you're lit up, you can go on for days, like, without being tired. And it's true. Like, every single day was between 12 and 14 hours. And it's like, I was tired when I got back, but man, when I got back home, there was such a sense of, oh my God, that was amazing. Like that, like so happy with how it turned out. And then to hear how the sales were for the showrooms and how well they did and how well it was received, was like, okay, that is exactly why now it's like I'm leaning in, and it's like, I'm glad that I'm starting to listen to that. And that is hard for people.
Well, you have to trust that there's something bigger looking out for you, right? Like that's a big thing with human design. It teaches you that there is another entity, thing, energy, whatever you want to call it. I don't care. You have a support system, right? And you don't have to do it all from the mind. Our mind is what keeps, pretty much every single person listening could say, like, their mind's what fucks them over every single time, right? 100%. And so what human design does is it gets you into the body to make decisions rather than the mind. And there's ways that you can make decisions. So if you get your chart, it'll say like sacral, it'll say splenic, it'll say no authority, or it'll say emotional authority, which is like waiting. So there's all these different authorities. Instead of your mind, which your mind's going to say, I have to take this client because it's money. Even if it doesn't feel right, that just means I'm being a baby. I need to work harder. Or my mind will be, whatever those like forceful thoughts, right? But your authority is like, it doesn't feel right. And everybody looks at you like you're batshit crazy. Like, what do you mean it doesn't feel right? Make it feel right. It's like, no,
You're
it doesn't
say
feel
no to
right.
that job. You're going to say no to all that. It's like,
And it's like, yeah, because I know that by saying no to this, I'm saying yes to something better. And it's so ass backwards in society where it's like, if you say no, that means you're a failure. That means you're going to be broke. That means you're fucking over your family. And that's just not true. It's, I'm saying yes to what lights me up because that's an energy. That's what I teach. It's energy. Because when you are lit up, your magnet turns on and everybody wants to be around you. When
yep.
somebody walks in the room and they fucking hate their job, you can feel it.
Oh my
Same
God.
goes on content
Yes.
on social
Just
media.
think about
How
going to
many
like Whole
people
Foods and that kid behind the register is miserable as fuck, ringing you up.
exactly.
That is like literally like read the room, people.
Exactly. And so like even with content, especially, that's what I started to realize too, is like anybody would come in with content and you can tell when they have a gun to their head and they're like, I'm doing this because I fucking have to, versus somebody that gets on there and is like, bah, 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 this is amazing. Like you can feel it. You can't fake this shit. So when you use your authority to understand and you use that to guide you, now you get the power back and they're aligned decision. It feels good. It's like, this shit is hard enough. Like, can we just use this as a tool to help us a little bit? Like, I just don't understand how we think it has to be so hard.
Well, I think because it's woo woo and because it's people, if they haven't heard it before or they don't have somebody that they know that talks about it, it's like, oh, you're
Well,
like,
it's like the real crunchy people where I come in on a homegirl level. Like, I give it to you straight.
totally.
I'm like, this shit works. Whether you like it or not, I don't care. I'm not here like going out under the moon and dancing. I mean, I'm about that life, but you don't see me wearing all these like things and, you know, anything like that. Like, I'm a real normal A to B type of person. But when I test something and it fucking works, I'm going to share it. Like, and I'm going to share it in a way that makes you understand it because I get you to apply it. Because if you don't understand the why, you're not going to do it, right? If I convince you, just say, Michelle, you have to do this. It's so amazing. You'll be like, okay, Renee, fuck off. But if I tell you, you've seen it, like you can't fake it. When I come on here and I'm doing everything in alignment, all of a sudden you're like, I don't know whatever she's smoking, but I want it.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I said, watching you and how lit up you are, but then, you know, watching to you and listening to some of the things, it's like, oh my God, this is like, you know, there was something with the human design that was about, and now of course I can't remember.
Everything I say is amazing. Just say it. It's fine. It's fine. Everything I just shoot out of this mouth is perfect.
Tell everyone, give everyone a little bit of a breakdown on each design because the Gene Keys works with the human design. So if you're going to start somewhere, I would say you can go on to, is it Jenna's site is myhumandesign.com?
Yeah, there's like Jenna Zoe and then Erin Claire Jones does a kick-ass job. I like her for human design. Gene Keys, it's a little bit harder. I try to educate on my page as much, but she doesn't really go into the Gene Keys. It's more human design everything. But if you want to find out about your design, you just go onto like Jovian Archive. You can go to Erin Claire Jones. You can go to Rachel Zoe. I mean, you can literally just type in my human design chart. It's free. And then you'll get your answer, which is your type. And that's when you want to go into, you can just Google it, like generator, manifesting generator, projector, and you're going to be like, okay, what does this mean? Right. And it'll spit out so many things to where you can just start going down a rabbit hole. So pretty much like the Manny gens. So the different types that there are, it's like the Manny gens and generators. So manifesting generator and a generator, right? So manifesting generator is a marrying of a manifester and a generator together. And then you have the manifestors that are single manifestors, single generator, projector, and reflector. And there's all different ways. So most of society is Manny gens and generators. They're like the builders, the doers, the battery packs, I like to call them, the fucking remote control bunnies that never freaking shut off. That's the Manny gens and the generators. They're the builders of the world, the doers of the world. They have all the ideas and they have the batteries to do so. The projectors are about 20% of the population, and they're the ones that are more of the guides. We don't have a defined sacral, so we don't have a motor center. So we are not meant to go, 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 go. We are meant to guide the rest of the energies because of our viewpoint. The reflectors are like the unicorn, like 1%. I don't even know the number. 1% of the problem, like it's super rare, like invisibly rare. So they don't have any defined center. So they're the mirrors to our world. So they will mirror whatever they see in their environment. It's pretty fucking crazy. I've only met one in my entire life. Like that's how rare they are. So when you start to tap into your energy of that design, now you can go into the world the way you're meant to, because I thought I was the doer, right? So I live with a manifesting generator who is a never shut off Energizer bunny. And everybody I worked with, Kat, she was a manifesting generator as well. So like me being the projector with no battery, I was spinning, trying to keep up with them. And I was burnt the hell out every single day because that's just not the way I was supposed to be operating. So it's a really good awakening point. So if I had to tell you where to start, it would be going and looking at your type, because that's what's going to tell you exactly how you are meant to operate in the world. And it eliminates a lot of the stress.
And you have to trust it, because truly, like I said, like,
it's a game changer.
I really have leaned into this, because it's, I recognize the difference of how I feel after certain jobs and how I feel after jobs that are not so great. And I've literally walked away from I think like 4 clients. And even Dave's like, are you sure you want to do that? I'm like, yeah, because one, it's taking me away from my family because there was too much travel. And then within that too much travel, it was there was not a lot of gratitude for what we did. And it's like you pour your heart out. And I am a people pleaser. I am, like anybody that's creative. It's like we all do, like, look, isn't this amazing? Like, look, and there'd be zero reaction. And after a long time, that's really hard, because that's what I live for, is to make my clients happy and to make them as excited as I am to see the difference of what the store. So when that wasn't happening, it's like I would leave literally like, so like where you're questioning, like, what the fuck am I doing? And, I can't, like, and I just have realized, like, really leaning into that has really changed a lot of how I go to work and how I show up at jobs and how I conduct myself, when it's like, it's that participation where the client's like, go for it. Like, we trust you. Like, this is why we hired you. Like, this is your authority. Like, go for it.
Those are the best. And that's so when you are deciding when to work with people or making decisions in life or in business, this is where you're going to go on your chart. It's called your inner authority or your authority. Each design type has one. So generators, magicians, all of that. We have our own authorities.
Say that in your chart, because
so it'll say authority, which is inner authority, or it'll say some weird type of authority. And that's
on the chart that you see.
Yeah, it'll say it on your chart. So what you want to look at is it'll say authority or something like that. And what that does is it tells you like how you are here to make decisions, right? The best way to make an aligned decision. So there's going to be an emotional authority, a sacral authority, splenic, or no authority. And usually reflectors have a no authority, or mental projectors. So when you have a no authority, you have to talk out your decisions with other people. And it's not to get their advice. It's just so that you can hear your words and make a decision that way. So if you have a splenic, this is also known as like your intuition. Those are the people that just know. Like, they just know in the moment. They're like, this is a hell yes, and I can't explain it. Don't even ask me why. I just know exactly why I'm supposed to do it. They know in the moment. So if I were to tell you something, hey, do you want to work with me on this project? You would know in 2 seconds. Like, that first initial reaction is your answer. If it's not an automatic yes, then it's a no.
If anyone's watching me right now, I'm scanning my photos so I can find this thing.
Yes, I will help you. I will help you find it. Usually if you're a Manny Gen, you have a sacral, but we'll see which one it is, because emotional is pretty up there too. So if you have a sacral authority, it's the trusting your gut response. So that's that feeling that you just know in your stomach. You get that like enthusiasm in your gut, that fire, that excitement. That's when it's a yes. If there's no fire, like no enthusiasm, none of that instant, like, fuck yeah, then it's a no.
There's no verbiage on it.
No, that's just your gene keys. We got to get your actual chart. Right. It's the one at the top of that. So it'll be on that. You just clipped it out. So it's going to be on the top of that right here.
Okay. I'll go back.
Where it has your type and all of that in your profile lines. That'll help you there. Which I'll help you, no problem. So sacral authority is the gut authority. And a lot of people don't really trust their gut. They say, how do you know? It's like your gut. And I'm like, you'll know over time. So I tell people to start with something small. Like, what do you want for dinner? And then they say like yes or no, like you want chicken or steak, like, you know what I mean? So usually with that, it's like a yes or it's a no, like that expansive yes, I'm all in, like tits up, ready to go, or it's like caved in, like no, I'm not really into it. Emotional authority, these have a special spot in my heart because I'm that person as well. So emotional authority is waiting for the emotional wave to pass, so sleep on it, right? Because we have such an emotional high and an emotional low. So we don't want to make decisions from those places, because if you're an emotional high and you're like, oh, yeah, I want to conquer the world, and somebody's like, let's go to dinner, let's go on a trip, and then that like 24 hours passes and you're like, I don't want to fucking go to that. Like that's that thing. Like, you know what I mean?
That's me.
Because like, you know that meme that's like, I hate when excited me makes plans because now like depressed me has to go. It's kind of like that. So whenever you have an emotional authority, you want to sleep on it, give it 24 hours, especially if it's a big decision, or you want to wait until that passes so that you're in a neutral space. Because usually with emotional authorities, we get into a lot of trouble when we respond in the moment, because we can either be in a super low or a super high, and it usually gets us in trouble. So those are the inner authorities. So that's how you make decisions, through your body, not your mind, right? So like that's giving you the power back to be like, okay, do I really want this, or where's this decision coming from? Because I always tell people, like, whenever you're doing anything, check what the energy is before you do it. Like, where is this energy coming? What's the energy behind this? Because if you're trying to sign a client or you're trying to make a decision in something, if it's coming from your mind or it's coming from a lack energy, like I need the money, usually you're going to get the pain in the ass, right? It's not going to ever be what you think it is. But if it's like, this just feels fucking great, I can't even explain it, it just feels right, I don't even know, it doesn't make sense, usually that's kick-ass opportunity, right? You can always go back to like proof that this is true in your life.
That scarcity mentality of making decisions from scarcity is horrible. And I
would say everybody does it too.
I was just going to say, I think 99% of the world comes from that scarcity, as opposed to sitting back and just like, I have to trust that I mean, I've learned just from all of the quote failures, which have been honestly like lessons. Like I've learned from all of those. Everything happens for a reason. And it's like, when something like that happens, I have learned to, instead of right away being like, what the fuck? Like, okay, like this is happening for a reason. Like, what is the reason? Like, what is the lesson? What is, and it's that scarcity thing, I think, with everybody that you get into, that it's because it's fear-based. And it's like, whether it's like scarcity of money or, you know, whatever it is, like, it's very hard. But I'm learning to step back and just know that if it's like, for me, like, I've always considered like how successful I am is how full my calendar is. Like, I'm booked till February at this point. There's pockets where I don't have work, but where I get in the scarcity mindset and the panic is when I look at my book, and instead of going, okay, I'm going to take this time and write, or I'm going to take this time and focus on X, Y, and Z. No, I go into total parent, and it's like, okay, I start booking jobs. And instead of just sitting with it, and one of the things in Gene Keys is like, you have to not fill in everything and pack your schedule so much, because by doing so, the opportunities that are meant for me can't come to me because I'm fucking full. Like, and that's why I'm like, oh my God, like that's where the light bulb went off for me. It was like, I had to stop doing that. Like, it's like that panic filling. And it's like, just because my schedule's packed doesn't mean it's successful. It's like, use that time, but it's that scarcity mentality. But I'm learning now, if I open space up, things will come that are the right opportunity versus like, just fill it.
Well, we're meant to be busy. That's just the way it is. That's the common thing now, right? And so when you are not busy, I must be failing. I must be not doing it right. If it's not hard, then it's not worth it, or whatever that story is. And that's all, like I said, we all share this common belief. And that's why I started the daily practices, because so what happened was I had an injury, and I was in that same thing. Like, success is this. If my calendar is booked, if I have this amount of money, which I didn't even fucking care. It's so funny. Like the money number that I didn't even come up with. It was like just in there. You know what I mean? It's so weird. So I had this like goal, and then I have this, and I was doing this, and when I'll be happy when I get to this point, or when I move and I buy my house, and I'm going to be happy when I do this, right? It was always that living in the future mentality. Like, I'll be happy when, I'll be successful when, if I could just get to here, that's when fucking shit is going to be dope. I'm going to be so happy, and this is going to work out, and then I'm going to turn into this person all of a sudden. I fell and had an injury to where it knocked me on my ass. I went to like a dark night of soul, this whole fucking thing. And I came out of it with not living, like the awakening of not living intentionally. Like, how many times are our days filled with stuff, things, goals, jobs, shoulds, haves, right? And so I was like, okay, how can I get through this? Because if I'm constantly living for the future, if I'm constantly like, I'll be happy when, that's a never ending cycle, right? It's never going to stop, because even if your books were full until March, you would still be doing it.
Yep.
Because it's a program now. Every single one of us have a program. Whatever the thing is that you define success as, or happiness, or whatever that's external, is a program. It's like a computer program. It's been running on life forever, right? Because your parents say you have to work hard. If you're not having it this amount of money, you're not a failure. Whatever the belief is that we have. So when I started to come out of that, I started doing the daily practices of key areas, because no matter what, it was always business first. I never meditated. I didn't take care of my body. I didn't take care of like anything. All I cared about was business. And I started to realize that that's what's creating this busy culture, right? Because we're just more is better. More is better. We need to be doing more. We need to always be doing more. But I read this quote, and it says, you don't need to do more. You need to be more. And I was like, whoa, because it was like, be more, right? That shift. And so I started doing the daily practices of mind, body, business, soul. Now I'm making space, because now I'm getting to the point where I talk to myself first, and I know what success is to me. So if like I'm understanding, I don't want a full plate. Like, I don't want a team. I don't want, an office, or I don't want this. I want space in my days. I want to be able to just drop everything if I want to. I want to work one-on-one with this type of client and do this. Like, I started to get to know myself on a deeper level, to where I'm like, I'm working so hard and killing myself for shit I don't even want. Right? And nobody takes the time to sit there and actually ask those questions of why do I believe this? Why do I think that my plate has to be full for me to be successful? Well, because you could have a full plate, but it could be you charging less than what you think you're worth, and then you're just burnt out all the time.
It's like I've talked about it a lot, is the culture of I'm so tired, and wearing your tiredness on your sleeve like a badge. Like, I know a ton of people. It's like, oh my God, I'm so tired. I did this, I did that. And, it's like, it's not a good thing, but we all wear it like a badge. Like, being this tired is commendable. And it's like, it's really not. And no. It's trying to get out of that mentality, I think, is what is the hardest thing for entrepreneurs, especially like store owners or business owners, because it is like you go through your day like, oh God, we had the shipment, and then I had this, and then I've worked all these days and I haven't had a day off. It's like, that's not a good thing. That's not like,
no, you're constantly in a reactive state. You're reacting to your day every single day, every moment of the day. So when you flip it and you get intentional about who you are, you're no longer reacting, because you're solid, right? So when things come at you from left and right, like, there's nothing you can control, right? Shit's just going to happen. You get a shipment out of nowhere, whatever happens. But if you're locked in and you're like, okay, I got my shit on lock. Like, I connected with my higher self. I took this. I know I'm intentional. I got to connect with my body, whatever that is. Like, I'm fueled properly. I'm taken care of first. Now you're not in such a reactive state. Now you're just kind of going with the flow. You're like, all right, fuck it. That's not the end of the world. It's more this, right? Instead of, oh my God, this totally fucked up my whole day. Now I'm in it, because you're being more conscious of like what you're choosing to think. Because when you finally realize like you do create your own reality, and fucking shit actually works, like all that shit's real. But if you start to just chip away at today versus like the whole fucking mountain, Now, all of a sudden, your creativity is times 1,000. You're a happier person. You're going in with the right action, not just busy action. Now you're not meeting resistance because now everything feels good. You're a happier individual. So your whole life gets better because everybody likes being around you versus like, fuck that chick. She's always stressed out. She's always fucking tired. She's always grumpy. She's always complaining. And it switches your entire viewpoint on your life.
Tell everyone about how you work with people and about your new practices, because I've watched you with the workouts done and the meditations done, and I know I've got to figure your chickens are in there somehow as
100%. Yeah, 100%.
Did they eat the bacon, by the way?
Yes, they eat everything. People, you would be surprised. Chickens are savages. I have people they get my whole kids' lunch, like all our leftovers. They have like leftover bowls on their counter and they give them to the chickens. Like they eat chicken nuggets. Like it's fucking crazy.
I saw your salad the other day with the chickens, I'm like, they eat eggs? Like
they eat everything. Chickens are savages, man. They're little scrappy little shits.
So talk to everybody about how some of the programs how you can work with you, and what does it look like? Like, what does a day in a life look like when working with yourself and your daily practices and all of that?
So there's two ways. I have an accountability group because usually we don't have a information problem. We have an application problem. So usually what the accountability group is 2 months. It's the daily practices. We go through your gene keys and create practices from your gene keys, because there is those numbers on your chart will tell you, what keeps you vitality high, what keeps you healthy, what keeps you grounded. How are you supposed to connect with the world? So we go into your gene keys, we create daily practices in key areas of your mind, your body, your business, and your soul, because it's all connected. And you're doing it with a group of high vibe people. So that's the first step. And then usually when you do that, you graduate into energy and alignment coaching. This is where the meat and potatoes do. So we do the gene keys again. We use those as our guiding point. And then I come in as a projector. I see you deeply. Like my aura penetrates, like you can't fucking lie to me. Like I don't read your words, I read your energy. So it's usually we get to the nitty gritty of what's stopping you. We break through your limiting beliefs. We bring awareness to those limiting beliefs.
My God,
and then
yeah,
it's game changing shit. Like every single one of my clients is like, damn, because I will not let you fail. Like I'm rewriting your beliefs through a perspective shift in conversation. So we work together for 6 months. Every single month, we focus on a specific gene key. You're doing the accountability with the daily practices, because there's this story that I heard. It was from Joe Rogan's podcast, and he was saying, if you really think about it, prisoners in prison, their punishment is solitary confinement, right? When they get in a fight or anything bad happens, they go to be by themselves. In a prison yard, you are with like murderers constantly getting attacked. The punishment for that is to go sit in a room by yourself. Think about that. Like that's how scary it is to get to know yourself.
Yeah.
And nobody does it. So I take you into a safe place to where we start to get to know yourself. We start to rip out those limiting beliefs, those deep down, I'm not worthy, where's this coming from stuff. And I utilize the gene keys to be as that guiding point to show you the truth of who you are. Because a lot of us, we don't believe in ourselves. It's not a worthiness issue. It's not, we're not smart enough. It's not that we're not doing enough. It's we're self-sabotaging ourselves because we don't genuinely down deep believe that we are worthy of it. Right?
Now, have you had many people push back on like, no, that's not me? And then at the end of it, they're
Never.
like, fuck, you're right.
No, the biggest thing is this is what's the trickiest part is I've worked with hundreds of people now, especially with their businesses and using the gene keys in their marketing and all of that. Not one person has said this isn't me. They take it for face value. They're too scared to go deep with it. So say like one of my clients was, and I have the same gene key, it was superficiality. And so the shadow was superficiality. And she was saying like, well, I'm not a superficial person. Right? She's like, I'm a really nice, like genuine person. I go, no, this is what it's meaning. It's superficial action. It's action with no sauce behind it. It's action with no intent behind it. And so when you are with somebody talking through your gene keys, you're going to take it as face value. You're going to be like, well, I'm not superficial. Oh, I'm not a control freak. Or like I am, but like, what does this mean? How does this actually work? So having that perspective is what I help with because I understand it from an energy standpoint when I'm tapped into you. because I read your energy, like I said. So when we're tapped in, you get that perspective to talk it out, because when you're just trying to learn this stuff on your own, it's overwhelming because your mind's always going to take over and be like, no, we're not that person at all. And you are. And so, and I come in and I tell you, it's not bad. I give you a perspective shift to see, okay, this is actually a strength versus a weakness, because I've been there. I've done this all in my own life, that I'm like, well, I know what you're going to come at me with, because I've done it already. I've questioned everything. So that's where it's more of it's a one-on-one session with me. And it's 6 months. So you get, I think it's like 12 calls or something, but it's one-on-one where we're doing the work and really getting to know who you are on a deeper level, because nobody goes that deep.
I think, I mean, honestly, I think it's so important. I mean, for those who are willing to do that and take the time, I mean, it takes time. I mean, all these things, like it's, one of the things that was so hard for me to swallow was watching you and all these other people that do have the to create this content, create these programs and do all this. And I was like, how are they doing that? And then it dawned on me, because you go to a fucking job site every day, Michelle. Like, you are on a retailer's floor. You're not. So when I'm in my office now, I try and be as intentional as possible with where I'm spending my time and what I'm creating while I'm here. Because bottom line is, I'm not in an office every day. I am literally in a car at 6 a.m. or 5:30, and I'm on the floor until whatever time. And then I come home and I do this at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, most afternoons. And, and quite honestly, like, I've gotten really good about, like, I shut it down at a certain time. Like, I want to go spend time with Dave and the dogs. And like, I don't want to be out here until 8 o'clock at night. And maybe I need to be, but it's like, that's not a sacrifice I'm willing to make right now. Like, I've made that in a past life, and I ended up divorced, and whatever. It's like, I chose work above, and it's like, it's just work. It's going to be here in the morning. I mean,
but think about all the release. So when you're thinking of, I need to do this, I tell everybody, I'm like, when you're in that state, think of your fist. You're just closing your fist. Like, I need to be doing this. I need to be cranking out more. I need to be doing this. That's your mind. Yeah. And your jaw and all of that, like, that's your mind. When you take a step back and you start to open your fist and you're like, actually, I'm really fucking happy right now. This is a priority to me right now. Like, and it's not all or nothing anymore. Now it's like, it's such a different way. I always say, like, you're going downstream versus up. Like, I always tell my clients, I'm like, everything you want is downstream. So pull the fucking oars in and let the canoe take you. That is the way it's supposed to be. Is it still scary? Yes. This is the common misconception that, like, it's still going to be hard, but it's a different kind of hard, because now it's hard because you're doing shit that makes your butthole tighten and you're terrified because you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this, versus why the fuck am I sucking? Why can't I figure this out? It's like, we break through that to where now you're doing all the fun stuff. Like, it's meant, if you really think about it, like, I'm really going to, like, we are on a fucking rock in the middle of the universe, have no fucking clue what's going on. And we're over here so stressed out about the perfect action, the perfect thing, and all of this. It's like, do you really think we came down here to do that? Like, really?
I'm going to take this, just what you just said. I listened to, on my drive home from Vegas, I listened to your podcast, Woo Woo Wednesday. That was about that weird documentary that you said, and I was dying because you were like, you remember when you're there in school and they wheel in the little car with the TV, and I'm like, oh my God, that's so. But that documentary about how they went through past life regression, like through hypnotist, and how the person was scared of something and going back into past life of why, and your thought, or the thought of whatever it was, like the things that you get hung up on. I can't believe I just fucking whatever lost my job. I can't believe I can't move past this. Turning it into your soul. You're gonna have to explain this. Your soul that was here before, when you come back, there are lessons you have to learn from your past life. Your soul has chosen those lessons. And when you think about, like, the things you are struggling about and the things that you are frustrated with or challenge that you are going through, for my friend Tanya, there's challenges she went through setting up fine lines. And she was constantly, she does a lot of work with herself, and she was constantly like, why is this coming up? Why? And I listened to this and I called her, and all of these things are coming up because they are challenges your soul is putting for you in lessons for you to learn that you did not learn in your past life. And if you think about it, is you chose these challenges. So when you get frustrated that you're not getting something, it is a lot easier to swallow when you think about like, oh, I chose this. That's right. So I chose that I was going to fucking lose my stores at Fred Siegel and then get fired and get kicked out of a project that I helped create, Sweet XO. Like, oh, I chose that. And it does make me happy that I do see my quote failures as lessons, because they all have very much been lessons. But now when I think about it, it's like, I chose that. Like, that was like literally that podcast episode. Like, I hung up, I shut that off, and I called Tanya and I'm like, okay, I'm going to tell you right now, the challenges that you were going through, you put there. And it's like, and look what you learned. Like she was the head of this entire showroom. Like all of these amazing displays, each space, how it was created was Tanya. And it took her so far out of her comfort zone, because she's a merchandiser like me. And you're used to merchandising and redoing one section, but you start talking about a 40,000 square foot space, and each space for each vendor has to feel and look for that vendor, but all has to be cohesive within the whole space. That's what she did. And it took her so far out of her comfort zone, and she's so fucking good. And it turned out so amazing, but it didn't come without her challenges and without frustrations. And when she heard that, she was like, oh my God, you're right. I'm like, that was you put it there. Like, these are your lessons. I'm sure people are like, what the fuck is she talking about? But talk about this documentary, because I'm sure I butchered the fuck out of it. So.
No, it was really fucking cool. So it was just pretty much saying that whenever you're here, because if you think about it, everybody's facing different things, right? Some have body issues, some have confidence issues, some have belief issues, there's so many different issues that we're worried about, right? And so the whole question was, when you decided to come into this earth, and I tried to come at it with an open thing, because some people believe in past life regression, people believe in reincarnation, some people don't. That wasn't the basis of it. It was, I just want you to have a perspective shift of, if you chose to come in and you said, okay, so the whole thing was, there's a group of people, your soul, your guides, whatever, angels, whatever you want to call it. They sat there and they're like, okay, so you want to be in this part of the country. You want to do this because they said that you're choosing where you can make the most impact and help society. So they say like, okay, I want to not believe in myself. I want to have this kind of motherhood, this kind of childhood, this kind of that kind of that, so that I can transcend it. Because every time you transcend it, that's what you're going to help people with. You gain more knowledge. So at the end, they're saying, what if the stones that you put that are in your path, you put them there with every intent to follow through and to fix and to pass them. And I was like, every single time I stressed out because I didn't believe in myself my entire, like, fuck, that has been the big, like, we all have. If you were to say, what is one thing I always feel like I struggled with? Mine was belief in myself. I was always too much. I had to dim my light to make others comfortable. I was always the weird one, always the black sheep. I always went left when everybody else went right. I was the drama queen, blah, 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 blah. Didn't believe in myself my whole life. I have spent my entire career doing things that believe in myself. Every challenge, every business I failed, everything I've done has been to believe in myself, to get back to my higher self and actually shine the way I'm supposed to shine. If I didn't go through any of that, how can I help you?
Yeah.
Because nobody believes you if you haven't been through it. Nobody argues with belief, right? So if you don't believe in it, if you don't speak from a place of, bitch, I've been there. And people can, like I said, people don't read your fucking words. They read your energy. They can feel when you know what the fuck you're talking about.
100%.
Right. And I, without a doubt, when I tell you, Michelle, I will help you believe in yourself again. I'm going to remind you who the fuck you are. We're going to get back to your truth. You believe me.
So much.
That's what I'm saying. But if I said like, I'm going to help you shine bright like a diamond again, you're going to be like, bitch, you don't even sip your own Kool-Aid, right? So the thing that you are struggling with, the thing that you stop, that self-sabotaging thing, you get to this goal and then you take 10 steps back, that's your problem. That's the work right there. Whenever you stop, That's the work we do, because it's not, oh, I need to do more. No, I'm not qualified. Oh, I'm not that. No, this is energy. This is what you chose to break through, right? Because that's what you're going to help the world with. And nobody, it's like, no, everybody's scared to go there. I'm not scared to go there because I know the pain is the portal to awesome. That's what's going to fucking work.
It is a hard pill to swallow. I mean, it
100%.
like what I've lost and what I've gained, but the loss, and when you're going through that loss, it's like, it's funny. It has gotten easier to swallow. Like when I lost Sweet XO, and I was like, I created this fucking brand. Like I created it. I wasn't the money person. I was the vision. I created this whole brand. They decide, we open one, it's super successful. Everybody decides, like, you know, we need to have open 5. Like ego got in the way of the money guys. Like, we're going to open 5 more. It's like, no one opens 5 retail stores in a year. Like, there's a reason why. Like, let's get this one going. Let's get it moving in the right direction. We don't even have fucking operations. We don't even have an employee handbook. We'll figure it out. We're going to open 5 more. So, okay, fine. Let's do it. We do it. We get them open. They're like in magazines, got amazing press. All of a sudden, the money guy, the fifth one just literally opened like 6 months. This isn't fun anymore. I want to close it. Like, excuse me? Like, what? It's not fun anymore. I want to close it. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? You want to close it? This is when the work begins. Like, it's not fun anymore, Michelle. I want to close it. So that lesson and that stab was super hard. But the day I got fired, because I was a partner, but I was still technically an employee, I get fired 4 days before Christmas. Thanks so much, Sweet XO. I get in my car. I call the LA Mart. I'm like, hey, I just want to see if you have any office space open. I'm going to reopen my merchandising business again. And my husband, then we were just dating, he's like, who gets fired and gets in their car and then calls a Mart and then says, I want my office. And then you drive directly down to go look at a space. Who fucking does that? Those lessons that I've gone through and all the heartbreak and the failure and like all that, it's like, I knew there's something else is supposed to happen. Like, and my phrase has always been, change is good, change is good, change is good. And I think that if you, in times like that, if you can step back and know, it's not meant for you. If it's not, it's like the universe, like, don't do it. It's not meant for you. But it's your ego gets there. It gets in there. It's like, I just got fired. It's like the ego, but stepping away from that was a hell of a lot easier this round than it was like when I lost my stores at Fritz Siegel or any of the other losses. But this one was definitely, but it is a hard pill to swallow unless you can get your mind wrap around. There is a reason why your store closed. You're meant to do something else. There is a reason why, like, that last year sucked. Like, it means, this year is going to be better. And there's a reason why, like, you're changing direction. Like, menswear isn't doing well. Like, switch out of men's, go do this. Like, but that ego part of you and accepting what's happening to you right at that moment is not an easy pill to swallow.
But that's where that's why when I teach people, when we work together, it's not, we start with strategy. Everybody wants the strategy. I need to know what else I need to be doing, right? And we go backwards, where I get you to understand, we do a visualization where we connect with your higher self and all of that stuff, because your higher self, your higher being, your inner being, however you want to call it, is whole, is perfect, is confident, is so solid and grounded and amazing that when you can connect to that feeling, all that other stuff is just things. It's just like, it's not, like I said, when you're grounded and you're like a rod in the fucking ground, everything else just doesn't have the oomph that it used to. Like, it just feels like, oh, all right, oh, it sucked, but once okay. Versus like a knockout where you're like, fuck, this sucks so bad. And it's not, that's the small self. Right? So the small self is your ego. That's the personality side. That's the baggage. That's the limiting beliefs that you picked up along the way. So our job is to chip away all of that, because your true self is already there. She's already whole and she's already the shit. She don't need no confidence. She don't need none of that. She's already there. Our job is to get back to her so that we can intertwine so that we have that. It's kind of like I always say that David quote, you know, when they asked the Michelangelo guy, they're like, how did you do that? Like this piece of marble. And he's like, David was already in the marble. I just chipped away what wasn't David. That's the work we do.
I love that. What are some of the success stories?
Oh my gosh. So what I loved, so I started in the business immersions, which we did your gene keys and your human design in your business with your marketing strategies, right? So we would do the gene keys for your marketing strategies. And the funny part was that every single time I was saying, yeah, we're going to do your marketing, because I thought that was the problem. I'm like, oh yeah, people just need help with their marketing. They need to be confident in their message. But every single immersion I did, they're like, my life completely changed after working with you. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, yeah, of course, your marketing's fucking dope. You're welcome. And she's like, no. They were like, I completely shifted the way that I show up for myself. Because I no longer am defined and working for something I don't even want. Because I can give you all the marketing in the world. I know this. I can give you all the strategies in the world. But if you don't believe it, you're never going to get there. Because I've been there. I had everything. I hit the goals. I did everything. I hit every single level that I wanted to hit. And a couple months later, I'm back to square one, maybe even worse half the time. Why? Because there's a deeper problem here. There's a deeper issue. There's a deeper worthiness issue, right? So that's what led me to the accountability group, because I'm like, okay, I got to do something where we got to connect somewhere, because my mind is so powerful that it keeps self-sabotaging and I don't know how to fix it. So I started to get intentional, like I said, after my healing session, figuring out, you know, that dark night of soul, all that. Every time I would start to project myself into the future, and that's when I would self-sabotage again, because I'm like, oh, I'm not capable. Oh, I can't do this. And it was all this hypothetical shit. So when you come back and you go into your daily practices and you chip away what isn't you, that's where the meat and potatoes are. And every single one of my clients is like, my life's easier, my friends, my son, my child, my husband, my marriage, my work, my business. I'm a happier person because they're fulfilled.
Yeah.
It's like the stupid water jug thing. Like, you know how you fill from the empty cup shit? Like, you just can't. And every single one of us is doing that. We're not taking care of ourselves first. We don't even know who we are. We don't know what we want. We don't even like, we do not know how to spend time with ourselves, right? Because you're so used to what everybody else wants from you. And every single one of my clients was like, that wasn't even marketing. That was fucking therapy. I'm like, yeah, I know. So that's why I switched it, because I was hiding under marketing. I'm like, nobody's going to pay me for this shit. They're going to be like, what do you help me? I'm like, no, marketing's legit. Like that, I can like justify it, right? Like, I'm like, we could work together at marketing. And everybody's like, that was fucking amazing. That had nothing to do with my marketing. Like, nobody even complimented the market. They were like, dude, I trust me. You gave me my authority back.
I think that's where, when I could see, you know, like you were saying, like, you're so confident. When you are so confident, it's like the Pied Piper. People are going to follow you. And it's like,
they feel it.
Watching you has been so cool. And it's like, that is exactly what it looked like that you're in your own skin. You're like the authority.
It gives you the confidence. It gives you your authority back. It gives you your power back. It lights the fucking fire that you put out. Like, that's what it does. And I will tell you, okay, this is how I'm going to knock your socks off. Okay. So I'm a projector. I went to an intuitive session. I work with an intuitive every month I go to her. She was saying the way that I need to get back to it. So I have a defined throat in my human design. She's like, the way that you help people is through talk teaching, your voice, your authenticity, all of this stuff. I'm tooting my own horn right now, but she's like, you're real. Like, this is who you are inside and out. You don't pump yourself up for a podcast. Like, that's just not who you are. You are that person. It's a breath of fresh air. You need to go on more podcasts. I'm like, fuck, I have my own podcast. I'm good at that, but pitching myself is so not my area. So as a projector, my strategy is to wait to be invited. I'm not an initiator. Manifestors are the only ones that are supposed to be initiators. So my job is to be seen, and the opportunities will come. Also, going into my profile line, I'm a line 4. I asked my network of people, which if you have a 4 line, your network is your net worth. That's where all your opportunities come from. I asked I said, hey, I'm looking to get on some podcasts. If you have any referrals or anything like that, this is what I'm doing. 3 people reached out to me and put me in touch with somebody else that they think I could be on a podcast with. That's 3 podcasts. This is all in a week, by the way. You reach out to me and you're like, hey, I would like to have you on my podcast.
Again, I'm actually going
Right?
to introduce my girlfriend Ash. We've talked about her. She has the Muse, the Becoming Muse podcast, and she has a beautiful crystal metaphysical store, and she's like probably the most lovely human you've ever met. Like she's just like she's beautiful. I mean, like stunningly, grossly beautiful, and just the most incredible human. And it's like, this is like, I'm going to make the introduction when I get off the phone. Did I do it or did not?
No, but look I put it out there. And so I said, I need to get on podcast, right? You reach out to me. I didn't reach out to you. Not like I wouldn't, but my strategy, I'm doing this for, I would definitely reach out to you, friend. But she was like, hey, I want to have you back on the podcast to talk about this human design. Another person reaches out and they're like, hey, did we ever get you booked on this podcast? Here, I'm going to have my assistant reach out to you. I booked 5 podcasts in like a week.
That's amazing.
Why? Because I leaned into what I'm supposed to, because I wrote the pitch. I wrote out dope ass pitch that I was going to send everybody. I made a 1 sheet and I went down to write it. And I literally felt like I was going to throw up. I was like, this does not feel right. So I put it down and I told my business manager, I go, I'm not doing it right now. I'm just going to put some feelers out and we're going to see what happens. I was like, it was like effortless. That's what I'm saying. When you lean into this shit, it works. Like when you trust that there is help there for you, it gets to be easier. Is it easy? No, it gets to be easier. There's a difference, right? So now I'm spreading my message in the way that feels good. I didn't have to do anything besides 1, be seen, be my people, and you heard it because I spoke my frequency. And when you speak your frequency, your people feel it. It is like they come out of the woodwork. I've signed on so many energy and alignment clients this month. I opened it in August and I had 3 of them say, I don't even know how you came back on my feet. Like I followed you, but I don't know where I found, they could not remember how they found me. And they signed on with me for coaching.
It's kind of like me doing that reel thing now where I'm doing the green screen.
I love that when you do that. It is so badass, by the way.
It's so it's like, I actually, like a store DM'd me and said, oh, you should do this. I'm like, okay, and it was so like the change of interaction, the change of people viewing it, the change of people reaching out. Like I've never had so many people connect. Like it's mind-blowing. And I said to somebody, Crystal Media, who's social media for retailers, and I said to her, it's like the light bulb went off. It's crazy. Like it's so, and it's like,
and it's fun.
It's fun. It's so me. It's so like, I know it like the back of my hand. It's like, this is my lane. And it's like, it feels so good to find, I know my lane when I'm merchandising, I'm hands-on and I'm working for people, but out there in the world, like, I've struggled to find who I am through my Instagram other than, the pictures of what I do and
right.
blah, blah. But my strength is teaching. And it's like, I'm really realizing that and talking about merchandising. And it's like, okay, so here we go.
Okay. What are your profile lines?
5-1. No, is that 5-1? No.
Yeah. I think that's what you told me. Okay. So as a 5th line, I just want to say, so Manny Gens are here to respond to the world around them, right? So you're responding to what people are asking and you're giving your perspective. The 5th line, you're here to teach, lead, and inspire others. You teach from experiences and learn from life. And you're a leader and your energy field communicates to others that you have the necessary answers and information.
Crazy shit. I'm serious.
Okay, that's just your 5th line. So now if we're going into your 1st line, you're a natural authority for others and here to be a resource of knowledge, data, and information. You use your investigator nature to build and structure your work, and you inspire people to trust your expertise and turn to you as the authority.
It is nuts, Renee. I mean, I just you reading that, it's like, oh my God, it's like
that's just like one section. But remember, I told you whenever I saw you do that reel, and I DM'd you as soon as I saw it, and I go, holy shit, this is genius.
It's so I'm leaning into it. Like I said, like this has been definitely.
And how are you doing? Are you doing it from your mind or is it just feel good?
it just feels good. I mean, it's like,
There it is, friend.
I said,
There it is.
I absolutely love what I do for a living. Like, I love when it's a job and it's not micromanaged and it's not nitpicky, and it's like people trust my 40 fucking plus years in the industry. And when they're like, just go for it. It's when people are not sure, which I understand, you know, it takes a lot to have somebody come in, like, I haven't met you, I've seen pictures of what you do, but to say, give complete, you know, go for it. Like my client sales producers, she's beautiful. She, when it comes to like, hey, what kind of budget are we working on? She's like, I'm not going to give you budget because I don't want to give you boundaries. And I know you're not going to go spend $50,000 on something we don't need. I trust you. And that, having that, it's just like, it lets you just go be and do what you love. Because I honestly love what I do so much. Like it truly, like today I was at a store and we moved furniture all day, and it's like working with the guys and getting creative and opening up spaces and changing the flow and all that. It's like, and I just got a DM from her. She's like, the flow feels so good. It's, I know I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And it's like the leaning into the gene keys and leaning into the human design part of it is like, I'm realizing it's like how, I mean, it's fucking legit. I mean, it's seriously. And again, like I said, watching you, and when you started go like talking more and more about this, I'm all, I have to get this book. I mean, like literally, it's like, granted, this is coming from somebody who did not graduate high school, that I'm like actually like highlighting sections that I didn't even do that. I didn't even do that in school, like at all. But you know what? I'm leaning so far into this because it's legit. And for everyone out there and these retailers, it's like, I really want them to hear this and lean into this. And I really would love for people that really want to sign up with you, because I know there's a lot of people like, okay, I'll do it. How do people sign up for you? And because doesn't the accountability group go quarterly or something like that? It's not like you can
So
just,
it's every 2 months. That's usually if you just want to get your toe wet, you know, but I say just go, if you're ready and you're like, you know what, like, I'm going to tell you the truth. I want you committed. You cannot fail. If you found your way to me, if you are speaking my frequency, if I'm speaking and you're like, yes, this is for me, then you're already wired for success. I'm just going to get you there, but you need to be 100% in with me and I will get you there.
So it happens every couple months is the,
so I'm taking energy and alignment clients all the time. The accountability group is on 2 months because I want to keep it in a safe so everybody's on the same train. But if you want one-on-one, then you can sign up anytime. It's just FreshLifeMarketing.com, energy and alignment coaching. Done and done. You sign up. We're on for 6 months. It's me and you dominating the fucking earth.
Talk to people about where they find you, and talk to everyone about your podcast, because your podcast is kind of, you know, you kind of dipped out of it for a little bit. You went back in, and you went back in so hard. You're doing 2 a week now. So I have
to listen to myself. It didn't feel, I had an identity crisis. So you can find me at FreshLifeMarketing.com, or you can just go to @FreshLifeMarketing on Instagram. And then the podcast is Woo Woo Wednesday. I did have a co-host for years. And so when we decided to go separate ways, I didn't know who I was anymore. I was like, where do I want to go with this? And I was forcing it. And I was like, I'm not doing the world a service if I'm forcing this. And if it's coming from a place of should, then I'm not going to do it. So I took a step back. I was so burnt out. And so I started doing my daily practices. My freaking creativity went in through the friggin', I mean, it came out insane. So every morning I do my journaling, I download, I get whatever I get, and then I turn that into a podcast. So everything that I do on my podcast is all from my higher self. Like, it's just what I'm in that moment. And so it's this creativity, this passion that's been lit. And when you do things that actually just feel good, that's when that happens. I'm now up to 2 a week from something I couldn't even look at. You know what I mean? Like, it's so crazy.
That is a lot, because I do 1 a week. And granted, I have stuff in the can that's taken us through. I think we have stuff that takes us through. I think we're scheduled through 11/8 at this point, because we've got so much in the can. But I don't edit it. You're editing it?
No, I have an editor. Yeah, I uploaded that because it was like, I'm getting to the point now where, and what I encourage everybody else to do is like, get to a point where you stay in your genius. Like, I have a business manager that does all my systems, everything like that, all my invoicing, all of that. And then I have an editor so that all I have to do is just give my magic. And then that's where I leave after that.
Because it is not, I mean, it is not an easy feat to keep mean, I mean, to keep pumping them out. And especially if and I'm not doing them, but it's like, it's my greatest joy is just sitting here and talking to people. It's like, I love this, but thank God I'm not the one doing all the back of it. But it is still a job. It is still, the back and forth of, what we need from, the post or, whatever it is, it's still a job. So 2 a week is like fucking commendable, sister. Like that is a lot. What episode
and
are
I
you
love
on
it. I think like 130 or something like that.
That's amazing. Congrats.
Yeah. Doing the damn thing. But I love it. Like I said, it's just me really just stepping into whatever's coming through me. And I kind of pass out half the time. I don't even know what I said. People are like, I really like that one liner he said. I'm like, I don't fucking remember that, because I'm just letting it come through me. Like, it's not my person. It's just whatever, is on my heart or whatever's in there, But when you create a relationship with your higher self, that's what your truth is. It's so fucking cool. Like, this stuff geeks me out so hard because I see what it unleashes, and you see how cool you are without having to be anything else, and your people will flock to you.
I love that so much. Okay, I'm going to ask you 2 last questions because I've already kept you longer than
it's fine. I can hang out with you all day, friend.
What do you do? Because you're creative, you're putting out a lot of energy, you do creative things, you're working with a lot of different people and personalities and their creativeness. How do you find inspiration and how do you find balance now? Because you're all about
there's no balance. I get my shit done. I have my checklist and I get my shit done. Like, I will not rest until I do it. So every morning, the biggest thing that I never was a morning routine person. I thought they were stupid. And then I finally started doing it. So I made a Zen den and I go out there. I don't touch my phone. I take my coffee and I do my journaling. That's where all my inspiration comes. And then I found out, so with one of my lines for what keeps me healthy is serving my people. So when I connect with people, that's where all my content comes from. So when I give my energy to people, I get it back, and that's where everything comes from. So in my way, serving is where all my inspiration comes from. And that is the balance that I need, because when I was by myself, I was going spiraling backwards. My mind was like, you're not doing enough, blah, 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 trying to find my own problems when my energy isn't made for my own problems. So I help serve other people, and in turn, that serves me.
And then where do you find inspiration from people? And then
from my people, yeah, because usually when you're struggling with something, usually everybody else is. Or if I notice a pattern in my community, so if I notice the accountability groups will be talking about something, and then I notice my coaching clients will talk about it, I'll go and unpack it. I'll turn it into a podcast, or I'll do a bonus call and be like, okay, this is what I'm noticing. This is how we can reframe it. So all of my inspiration comes from my clients.
What is a piece of advice you would give to somebody that is thinking of starting to dip their toes into the human design and the Gene Key world?
Oh my gosh, go in like all the way. Like, if I can tell you, you're right. Like, everything you feel is right. Every way that you think you want to go, every opinion you have, every inkling that you have is right. And you want that confirmation because you don't believe it yet. You need a signier sign. That's going to be your sign that you need. And that's it. You'll never have to doubt yourself again.
Oh my God. I love this conversation. I'm so glad to have you come back. Cause like I said, like, I think this is going to be 4th quarter episode. All the retailers are heading into just the most insane time. And I think that, yeah, I'm kind of wondering if we do this for New Year, New You, because I feel like by that point everyone's burned the hell out. So I think this one might be in December, where everyone's going to be coming out of the holiday thing. They're towards the end. They're starting to think about what your New Year's resolutions are going to be, like how you want to change things. I think this is a perfect way to start off 2024.
Yep, I agree 1000%.
Thank you so much for your time. I love you. I love talking to you. I love watching you. Like, you're the best gift. You and Carrie Fitzgerald, best gifts of UPP that I've gotten.
Oh, I love that.
Thank